This is CBSE Class 10 Social Science, most important question for board exams. Next one is, how has foreign trade been integrating markets of different countries? Explain with examples. And this has come quite latest. This question is, so foreign trade is integrating markets of different countries. First, let me tell you what this foreign trade is. That when you are in a country here, say country A, say example, let us take India and China. Now, when the trade or vyapar happens, that is, the company here makes some good and sell it to the market in the China, and China also produce something, sell it in India, or they have offices here, they produce here and they sell it. The company belongs to China. Likewise, so this foreign trade is integrating markets of different countries. This foreign trade creates an opportunity for the producers to reach beyond the domestic market. That is, if Indian market is there, if this company is producing only for the Indian market, when it has started producing for the international market, so it has the opportunity to reach beyond the domestic market. The producer can sell their products in the market located in other countries, as I just indicated, and it helps for expanding the choice of goods beyond domestic product. So if you are a consumer and you are only given option of, say, the content or the thing which are made in India, so if the Chinese goods are also there, so you have option, you can choose any one of these which is good in quality and which is cheaper in price. So as a consumer, you have good options now. It is main channel connecting countries. The basic idea of saying this is that this is how countries get connected. People go here and there, people come, they see culture, they see everything, they see the market ethics, like this. And for extensive trade, this is quite helpful whenever this foreign trade is considered. The trading interests attract various trading companies, because if you take the population of India, it's around 134 crore, you can say, and this is around 139 China. Now there is a country, say US country, and this country has, say, 30 crores of population. Now the company making here something, the consumers are less, but now when this company makes a product and it sell it to 134 or 139 crore of people, you can see that how much product they can sell and what is the revenue of this company. That is why we have the people who are living in, or the companies which are in some advanced country, they are making a lot of money because they are actually selling it to the countries which have higher population. So this we have seen, so I'll just skip it. How do we feel the impact of globalization in our daily life? Explain with examples. This question we have already considered, but since this has been coming again and again, 16, 17, 18, continuously it is coming. So the impact of globalization is Vaishvikaran. Like, see, if you are living in a home, your home, but when you live in a community, you don't only live in your home, you have your neighbors, so there is a community. So this is a community at local level. But when you talk about a globe, you are in India, somewhere in China, say some Australia. So here we have the globalization, how this now the whole globe that is the earth is a home for everyone. So there is a globalization, Vaishvikaran, because everyone is going here and there. Because what you do, you go to your in-laws, you go to your parents, you go to your neighbors, and you call them for party, you call them for some food, and in any problem you call them. So all these things is happening at this level also, right? So this is the globalization, and globalization and greater competition among producers have been the advantages or advantageous to the consumer, as I just suggested in the previous discussion, that when you have different companies coming for the same product, a consumer has a different options. The greater choice of products and goods are before the consumers, and then the quality also. See, if a company, say you have Toshiba, you have Panasonic, you have, I'm talking about TV. say LG TV. So all these companies are now in front of you. You will go to all these shops, you will see which of the company has lower price, and which of them is providing greater features, and which of them is of good quality. So here you decide that what I'm going to buy. So you get a good quality also, because they cannot say to Toshiba, if it has not a good quality, it will not survive in the market. So the quality becomes a prime, you can say, background for any company to survive. And the living standard is increasing, since you are getting this stuff for minimal rupees or minimal amount, and you have so many products. So now the living standard also grows. It emancipates. And foreign investment has increased in many areas. As I just suggested, cell phones, automobiles, electronics, soft drinks, there are so many. And new jobs. If a company from say China comes to you, say Vivo or Oppo, now this company will hire Indian people, and they will sell also. So there will be now marketing guys, there will be some repair also. So all the people here are from India. So China, when it is setting up a company in India, it is actually providing employment to Indians. So China is doing a favor for us. Similarly, if we do it for some other countries, say Australia, so we are favoring that country. We are just investing, where our companies are just investing, but the people there are going to work, and they're going to get job, employment, money, etc. And their living standard will increase, get higher. And several of the units have shut down, rendering many workers jobless. Why? This is the reason why. If there is a country, say India. Now India, because of there are political reasons, people are not very favoring this China. But if you see market wise, that if this company wants to come and you put a lot of rigidness in your rules and regulation, this company will not come, this company will go here. So this country will be benefited. So you will get jobless here. And globalization has also created insecurity of job, because globalization, sometime company may come, sometime company may just pack up and go back. So what will happen to the people out there who are dependent, who have the salary of that company? That may happen. So insecurity of job is sometimes there. Name the state where Narora nuclear power plant is located. So Narora, this is the picture of the Narora nuclear power plant, and this is also again and again repeated. This is in Uttar Pradesh, but where in Uttar Pradesh? We call it as NAPS, Narora Atomic Power Station. And this is a nuclear power plant station, or this is located in Narora, and this is at the district is Zilla is Bulandshahr. Bulandshahr district, Uttar Pradesh. There is a place called Narora where this power plant works. Why is the iron and steel industry called the basic industry? Explain any reason. I'll just give you an example. You have a family and you are kids, like various kids, grandfather, your father, your mother, all those are there. Your chacha, all those people will be there. Now, who is the boss? Grandfather and your father, maybe. If grandfather is physically active, he is the boss. Otherwise, your father is the boss. Everything will be discussed with him, or he will decide, because he is the bread earning person. Maybe the mother can also be the boss. But if I say that the father is boss in this house, if you take industries, iron and steel is the boss. Iron and steel is the boss, right? So this is why this is boss. Iron and steel industry is the basic industry, because it is the industry on which other industry work. This is the feeder industry for all other industry, maximum industry. Okay, so iron and steel industry is called the basic industry, because iron and steel industry are the key industry, as all heavy, light, small scale as well as the large scale industry, they are dependent on this iron and steel. Iron and steel is the raw material for other industry. Iron and steel are used to manufacture variety of goods. It starts from very small to very huge, like surgical instrument, defense appliances, electric devices, wires, utensils, electronic goods. And this is considered to be the backbone, Merudand of industrial development of our country. Any country which has good iron steel industries, it's it's called prospering, or that is how it's being judged. I'll give you some places here. So here, these are the points where we have the iron and location of steel industry. So some are Tata. One is Tata Steel. This one is Tata Steels. The first one which was established. This is private basically, Tisco, but it has a name. And we have the Mumbai corporate office here of Tata Steel. Then we have SAIL, Steel Authority of India Limited, and these are the places we have. This is the corporate office. Then we have Bokaro, Burnpur, Durgapur, Bhilai, Chandrapur, Bhadravati, Salem. Right. Coming to Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, and this is at Vishakhapatnam, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. Explain the improvements made by the Indian Railways in its functioning. So this is also coming time and again. So you need to be very well versed about this answer. And there are so many answers here. You know, everyone travels on train, so they know very well what is happening. This is the Indian train. It's a Delhi station right now. Okay. So improvement made by the Indian Railways in its functioning are like this. First, the steam engines are being replaced by electrical engines. Mostly by electrical engines, where it is not possible, it is diesel engine now. E-ticket, I-ticket facilities are available. That is, the computerization is complete. All the ticketing, all the facility, even you can book food, everything you can do on internet, on your mobile. So everything is computerized. Conversion of meter and narrow gauges into broad gauges. Previously, they were small. This is the distance between these two lines. Okay, and what is the thickness of this rail? So this is how it decide that whether it is a narrow gauge or broad gauge. Now the conversion of this meter and narrow gauge into broad gauges, this has happened, and the rail routes have extensively increased. Whenever their rail budget is produced, every time some government comes, they will announce some or the other train from their as the source of the destination of their place. So this is how the rail routes are increasing. Better facilities on railway platform, not even in the railway platform. If you go to Indian Rail also, inside this, outside this, this railway platforms have changed entirely. Now they are a pleasure place. Previously it was not. Then we have metro rail and monorail, though this doesn't come under mainly the Indian Railways, but still we can add it here, that mono metro rail. These are also being introduced for short distance and for commutation to be made easier. How do pressure groups and movement exert pressure on politics? This we have seen already, and this is coming again and again. So I'll just go through it. This pressure group and movements strengthen democracy because they try to gain public support and sympathies for their goals and their activities by carrying out information campaigns, organizing meetings, and filing petitions. What happens that if government make a policy, and you as a person or a normal ordinary man or me, we are affected by this policy. So what we will do? We will form a pressure group and a movement, Andolan. So this Andolan, if they have number of people, good people are here and they are leading well and public support is there, so they try to gain the public support. When they get a public support, now the government has to get vote, and there are so many people involved here, so they have to listen to this public group or the movement, Andolan. They often organize protest activities like strikes. So whenever this strike is involved, the government sees that, okay, this is happening, they suffer loss. So that is why this strike is a very good tool to let government know that we are suffering, and that is why we are striking. Sometimes the pressure group are either formed or led by the leaders of the political parties or are act as a extended arms of political parties, as I suggested earlier also. You go to university, the university group, the elected members like the secretary or the general secretary, all these are coming from NSUI or ABVP. They all have political backing. Apart from this, there are other places also where you find the political backing. If people say that the panchayats and the panchayats or the village level Chunavi Nikay don't have any politics there, but still they are backed by some of the other this political party. Sometimes political party grow out of movements. What happened in Assam, what happened in Tamil Nadu and in Delhi, all these governments have come only on the basis of the movement they started, Andolan they did. Compare the popular struggles of Nepal and Bolivia. So earlier in the questions, we have already seen about Nepal and Bolivia. We have discussed a lot. So the difference we are going to talk about. So let me start with this similarities, but let me show you where it is. See, this is a country in South America. This is Bolivia. This whole region is not very advanced. It's kind of developing states here. This is a picture of Bolivian Andolan or protest, and this is what happened in Nepal. Let me tell you again what happened in Nepal. So there was a Nepal. This was called as the Nepal Second Movement of Democracy. There was a seven-party alliance, SPA we called them. Then the Maoists, which are generally against the government, they use the Shastra. They use armed revolt. They came along with this government, and now they tried to overthrow, or they wanted King Gyanendra to restore democracy back. King Gyanendra finally, after so many things happened, he finally bowed down, and Girija Prasad Koirala, he was made the interim prime minister, and there was a constituent assembly being formed. And this happened because of the water. The municipal water supply was given to the MNC, and MNC started charging exorbitant amount for the water supply. So the similarity is the popular struggles of Nepal and Bolivia are instances of this conflict, right? So political conflict what happened and political struggles what happened in both the cases, this struggle involved the mass mobilization. If you see here, these are people, and in same way in Nepal also it happened. Lakhs of people came on the street of Kathmandu. Both instances involve critical role of political organization. So there are political organizations which were there. Previously, it was not there with the Bolivian, but finally there was an institution actually. Finally, it was being backed up because this Bolivian did not happen here. Differences is the movement in Nepal was to establish democracy, but in Bolivia the struggle involved claims on an elected democratic government. The democratic government is not providing the proper security of, say, water. That was the thing. And in Nepal, there was no democracy. In Bolivia, struggle was about one specific policy, that is the water policy. As I said, water supply was given to the MNCs, multinational company. They started charging 1,000 bucks for the supply, where 5,000 bucks was the average income. The struggle in Nepal was about the foundations of country's politics because the relation or relatives of King Gyanendras were killed. All family were killed in some dubious circumstances. Then King Gyanendra came. He took all the power, and then he didn't give any democracy to the country. Now people wanted what? People wanted democracy to be restored. Both these struggles were successful, but their impact was at different levels. Globalization has been advantageous to consumers as well as producers. Support with suitable examples. So this question we have already seen, so I am just going to skip it. Why are the rules and regulation required in the marketplace? Explain. So rules and regulation are required for consumer protection because first thing is seller usually don't accept responsibility. If they sell a product, that is the sold product, if there is any defect, for instance, you as a consumer who bought, say, some utensil, and you go to the shopkeeper and you say that this is defective. The seller may just ask that you might have taken it was all good when you took it, or he can say just go to the another shop. Exploitation, shoshan of consumers can happen in different ways, like use of faulty weights. For example, the trader can weigh less good than what he's supposed to. Like he is weighing 1 kg and he is only giving you 900 grams. Consumers can be sold this adulterated मिलावट का सामान good purposefully. For example, adding color to spices and selling them. This we have seen. If producers are few and consumers are many, producers can exploit lack of competition. For example, big companies, this happens, can sell the product at any price they want because consumers don't have any choice. False information can be advertised that we have seen on media to attract buyers. For instance, a company is selling baby milk powder advertised for a long time that it was better than mother milk. How can anything be better than mother milk? So consumer groups have been formed and it gives rights to people, consumer, for right to safety, right to information, right to seek readdressal and right to represent. Name the state where Kandla seaport is located. So here is the place, Gujarat. Gujarat is the state where Kandla seaport is located. This is the picture. Let me show you where exactly it is. This is the Kandla Port Trust, right? And let me show you this port. Actually, this is one of the oldest port. So this is the picture, and Gujarat is the state. Name the place where the movement of indigo planters, this movement of indigo planters started. So this is Champaran. Now let me show you where it is. This region, if you see, this is the Champaran area. If you want to locate it, here is Patna, here is Gorakhpur. So this is Champaran Ilaka area. Champaran, which is in Bihar, is the place associated with the movement of indigo planters. Champaran movement was held under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi ji in 1917. Please remember, it's 1917. The farmers of the Champaran district were forced to cultivate indigo only. Neel कहते थे इसको. So they wanted to grow something else, but they were forced to grow only indigo. Describe any 4 merits of road transportation. So whenever we go